So a very warm welcome this afternoon to Thurrock Oakfield, where today old rivals Southend play against Thurrock. This is a very old fixture and wasn't one which necessarily was natural in the early days. In fact, Thurrock didn't play Southend until the early days of the Essex Cup and the National Cup, which was in the early 70s. Southend are a very old club. In fact, they are probably the third oldest club in the world, and they were formed in 1870. Southend was formed by Admiral Charles Barstow Theobald, and he devised a game of football where you could handle the ball for young boys in Southend in 1870. Now, this preceded the Rugby Union. The RFU was not formed until 1871. Southend had some great early fixtures. They played against Hampstead Club, which of course was later broken up into two, with one half being the Wasps and the other being the Harlequins. Harlequins being formed because it was originally Hampstead and they wanted to keep the H from their mantra. So Harlequins was originally Hampstead Rugby Club. Because Southend were one of the early clubs, they loaned their shirts to Harlequins, and Harlequins ended up by taking the chocolate brown of Southend and adding that to their Harlequin shirts. In the 60s, up until the 1960s, Southend didn't play Thurrock. They played a lot of the London teams, and it was only with the advent of the Cup that they were forced to play the local teams in Essex. On the very first occasion they met, Thurrock won the game late on at Port of London Authority with a very, very late drop goal. And from that, fixtures became regular events. In recent years, Southend and Thurrock have been in the same league, and that league means that they've been very strong rivals. Probably Southend have had the better of affairs in the last few years, but last season they finished at one game apiece. So today we're looking forward to a good, fast, open game as befits the occasion, and we are reminded of some of the great players of the past who graced the pitch, people like Billy Adams. A great friend of ours, now down at Southend, unable to be here today, unfortunately. We wish him well. Southend today have Jack McVeigh full-back. Rolly Inwood is on the right wing, while the centre partnership is Jake Jones and Chris Vaughan. Tom Day is on the left wing. The co-captain and kicker is Ben Lloyd at fly half. Harry Branch, the son of Southend legendary hooker Nigel Branch, is scrum half. Tom Riemann is loosehead. John Kennard, the hooker, and Tate Holliday, the tight head. Jake Buckley partners Matt Wagstaff in the second row, Matt Wagstaff being the co-captain of Southend. Kalani Parkinson is number 6, Lewis Holmes is the open side, and Sidney Node is the number 8. On the bench they have number 16 Grant Lowe, Tom Ramsey is 17, and Stephen Walker is a substitute back. Amy Smith is the physiotherapist. Thurrock, and number 15, full back, the returning Rhys Cotter. Rhys has been away working in Camp America for several months, and we wish him well in his comeback. Rob Murphy is on the right wing, the versatile Rob Murphy. Niall Clifford and Henry Bird form that solid centre partnership, almost perennially. And Harry Reynolds, the find of the season last year, is on the left wing. Blake Burns, the Loughborough boy, is coming in number 10, and Kai Holloway is the scrum half. Jake Bedding was injured at Holt a couple of weeks ago and is not able to take his place today. Andy Catchbow is loosehead. Lawrence Brown returns to the hooking duties in the absence of Danolf. Lawrence and Danolf have been exchanging places on a routine basis of late. There's been something on the road between the back row and the front row, but today Lawrence finds himself back in the hooking position. Jay Jennings and Caelan Watts-Adams form a very youthful second row in the absence of Dritan Loka. Cody Holloway, the brother of Kai, is number 6. Jamie Orr, New Zealander, is open side. Ben Timpson is number 8. Harry Clark is the replacement front row. James Roger and Amid Aminu. 3 sets of brothers have played for Thurrock first team this year. The Watts-Adamses, Caelan and Malachi. The Jenningses, Jay and Sam. And of course, Kai and Cody. So Southend in their brown and white traditional colours enter the fray. A very good win last week for Southend down at Warner's Bridge. 63 points to 5 against Holt. Southend moved to Warner's Bridge from Priory Park in 1979. Oh, sorry, 78. Thurrock moved to Oakfield in 79. And so it's Blake Burns, who has been doing some work with George Ford up at Leicester over the last season or so, to kick off for Thurrock. It's good afternoon to our many watchers, particularly in Wales and the West Country. Good afternoon to Trent White and Dylan Fearon and the former Thurrock players down New Zealand. So Blake Burns goes long, Southern allowed to bounce. But with the wind at their back, Southern have managed to clear that close to halfway. Lawrence Brown with his first throw-in of the day. Wagstaff in the second row, trying to anticipate where this goes. It does go to Watts-Adams. He's been to it by Wagstaff. The Southend hooker managed to get the ball. It's gone up to the middle of the park. It's an excellent first tackle from Blake Burns. Thurrock do not release. Jamie Orr there, penalised by the referee. Nick Edwards, London Society referee, very keen there and quick release. So an excellent first kick from Ben Lloyd. Good afternoon to the regular fans here up in the stand. They're not really allowed in here. The stand has been condemned. But
we know.
I think Mr. Bedding is in charge of the stand. Good afternoon, Miss Clifford. So Thurrock on the end of a driving maul. So then they managed to get that going quickly. Thurrock reluctant to take it to ground in case they give away a penalty. There is a penalty already. So then a free play. Ben Lloyd goes through the gap. So then it just held up. It's a very prosperous start from them. Ball goes wide. And just the last minute the ball is thrown to touch. It's a great opportunity for Southend.
I can't get a cloth.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The Southend have an early penalty. Ben Lloyd needs to go to touch. He prods that ball into the corner. Another attacking line out for the brown and whites. Southend Thurrock long been rivals over the last 50 years. So it's Kennard with the throw. It goes long. It's juggled a bit, but so they managed to win it back. Ball has been knocked forward. This will be the first scrum of the day. So we'll anticipate eagerly. Good to see Henry Bird and Niall Clifford back in harness this week. A couple of minor injuries over the last few weeks have meant they've missed each other sporadically. Kai Holloway with his first put in. Quite a strong southeasterly wind blowing off the River Thames today. It's a glorious day at Thurrock Oakfield. You can see behind the school buildings, behind the posts, and part of the wonderful facilities which we have at Thurrock nowadays. So Blake Burns waiting on his left foot in the dead ball area to clear his lines. As usual, a bit of difficulty in setting the very first scrum. As is customary, the referee has a few words. Nick Edwards trying to get matters right.
Next 2 weekends. One at Exeter and then one at
So a big responsibility in Ben Timms to get this way quickly. The base is a good ball, and Blake Burns, his left foot, managed to clear his lines up the 22. A lot of these players today formed the Essex team, which got to the final of the county championship against Oxfordshire this year. Partners in crime for a while, but not today. So Kennard with the throw. This time again it's gone to the back, but it's not done very well. Cody Holloway is quickly onto the ball, as is Henry Bird. In fact, do get the turnover. Blake Burns feeds out to now Clifford. A handoff. Jamie Orr on his shoulder.
No, wipe it.
Kai Holloway with a box kick, but that goes pretty much perpendicular. Goes backwards, if anything. Followed by a knock on. The wind has strengthened the last half an hour. When the players warming up, there wasn't much wind. But now we're almost in the teeth of a gale. As a lonely butterfly is blown down the pitch. Obviously just arrived from a caterpillar. Southend with a feed in ahead, switch in midfield, bringing the winger into play. He's well brought down and well collected by Jamie Orr. Managed to win that one. That's what loose forwards do. Cody Holloway throws a dummy short, goes trundling on. Good clear out by Thurrock. Blake Burns kicks the ball up the middle of the field. Harry Reynolds is close to gathering that. He does very well to gather that. Henry Bird is second man there. Pushes off a couple of would-be tacklers. Anthony Catchbow picks and drives. Jay Jennings looking for action. He's gone blind. Good work by Thurrock forwards. Caden Watts-Adams in the middle of the field. He evades the first tackler. Very zealous tackling early on today. Blake Burns sends ball wide. Now Clifford throws a dummy. Unfortunately, the ball is knocked on wide. And Rob Murphy unable to grab that one. Always important, always vital you have sympathetic passes during windy weather. Sometimes the ball needs to go a little bit shorter. So an encouraging start by both teams, nothing in it so far. The Southend forwards won some early line-out ball and managed to put some pressure on Thurrock. They withstood the pressure, won a turnover or two. It's now on halfway, which is just about where the game is. Both teams looking to play simple, effective rugby. No real contrast in the styles to be seen yet. The referee, Nick Edwards, looking for exemplary scrummaging. I wonder if that is possible. So Harry Branch with the feed. Pack gives him good protection. Thurrock will be moved back. Again, Ben Lloyd comes in hard with a sidestep. The referee goes back for a penalty. It seems as if they had a little bit of pressure. I wonder why referees don't allow the game to flow a bit more. And it's not a criticism of referees. It seems to be par for the course. The Southend had won that ball from the scrum. It was good possession. He could well have carried on quite easily. And Lloyd does necessarily use the wind, pushes Southend deep down into the Thurrock 22. So Kennard to throw the ball in the line out. This time it goes to Holiday. Clean catch, so they get a drive on. They go to ground of their own volition. So the dummy switch in the middle of the field, simple pass the outside centre. Thurrock deemed to be offside. Good tackle by Jamie Orr. This time, rather than risk going to the corner, looks very much as if Wagstaff has called up his co-captain Ben Lloyd to kick at goal. After 14 minutes of play and the wind their back, Southend feels as if they must get something on the scoreboard. Something imitated by England last week in their victory over Argentina. And George Ford took complete responsibility and kept the scoreboard ticking over. I'm not sure where we see the Thurrock scoreboard ticking over today. Depends whether we've managed to find the remote control or not. All will be revealed. It's a fairly straightforward kick for Ben Lloyd, especially with the elements behind him. And the scoreboard is working. They must have found the remote control, thanks to Jason Betting. So Southend 3, courtesy of Ben Lloyd penalty, Thurrock 0. With Henry Bird in the clear, the referee comes back for an earlier penalty for a high tackle. And so far the penalty count is heavily against Thurrock. This time Lloyd slices, misses touch. The ball is fed back to Rhys Cotter. Just inside his own 22, that's an outstanding kick. Superbly kept in play by wing Harry Reynolds, and Rhys Cotter replied in kind. Good to see the young man back. Of course, son of former Thurrock fly-half Luke Cotter, outstanding player in his own right. Excellent back line ball this time. Great jackling there. Cody Holloway and Ben Timpson to the fore. That was a good line out. Straight went Kalani Park. And Wagstaff asks for clarification. Blake Burns into the wind, finds a secure touch, quite close Southend's 22. Thurrock's first opportunity to launch an attack. So some terrific play by Harry Reynolds, keep that ball in play, then outstanding back row work. This time Brown goes to what's happens to the back. Jamie Orr. The missed ball goes straight and out, clips in the middle of the park. He wrestles away with a few players. Thurrock win the turnover. Comes wide. Watts Adams. Reece Cotter comes in. Harry Reynolds inside. It's good support play by Thurrock. Lawrence Brown. Thurrock just lose possession, the act of scoring. Reece Cotter alert the opportunity, dived over, but the ball had gone marginally forward just prior to that. Good attack by Thurrock. Harry Reynolds very incisive in his running. Scored a try last week like an inebriated jigsaw going through the opposition. So messy line out so far, both teams knowing each other very well from their Essex days and competing at the line out. Should be a good battle as the afternoon progresses. So then using Vaughan to break through the first tackle, sets up Branch, goes for the box kick, clears his lines. Very nice exit process. You see already this will be a keenly contested game. Southend against Thurrock has traditionally been that way, never very much in it. So Brown to throw. This time it goes to Jennings, the front. He takes that very well. The referee suggests an accidental offside and doesn't allow that to go ahead.
Which is basically is bitten by a mite, and these mites. And then they bite you, and then they crease and stab you, that then starts affecting shut down. And so if he kept even if it's dead, even if they
Certainly catch pull up against Tate Holiday. Kai Holloway managed to get a good hit there on Harry Branch. So then the forced kick away quickly. Not a chance to open his legs, he's gone to contact. Flip on there to Jamie Orr from Ben Timpson. Cody Holloway. Watts Adams in the middle of the field. Blake Burns sends behind to Henry Bird. He looks for the handoff, feeds Harry Reynolds. Harry Reynolds comes hard inside. Thurrock once again to the fore. Ben Timpson looking short and the catch pole. Good feed on. Thurrock have quick ball. It goes wide. Cody Holloway in the middle of the field. Thurrock do have a penalty for offside, but they want to carry on playing. This gives them the opportunity. Quick ball from Holloway. Blake Burns. Now Clifford goes to ground, slips. In contact. Thurrock quickly recycle. Jamie Orr with the driving runs. Good period of play for Thurrock. Some sturdy tackling in the middle of the field. Thurrock still go with the advantage. Holloway with a thrusting handoff.
Said to me about going to Southend.
The referee has come back for the penalty.
Yeah, I want to exactly that's what it said. And I was like, oh no, I didn't.
And Southend captain has been spoken to by the referee, allegedly for calling that the advantage was over. It always does seem as if the advantage goes on for a very long time in rugby nowadays. The only real advantage is when you score. The referee has called for a water break. Eminently sensible, of course, during these weather conditions. It's really unfortunate because the Thurrock ground staff worked very hard on the grounds. They were looking magnificent last week. And then, of course, we had the new summer arrival, and now the ground is parched. And Deputy Head Groundsman Roger White, what have you got to say about it?
Deputy?
It's such a shame. Couldn't you not got the sprinklers on, old chap?
Well, we had them on last night,
Last night?
but yes, we'll use the sprinklers as often as we can.
As often as you're allowed.
Hoping for a lot of rain this week.
Of course, we do have the artificial pitch here at Thurrock. It doesn't need any sprinklers. We could play on there. Anyway, attacking line for Thurrock. So they elected to kick to touch. They'll go for the drive. No doubt Southend will compete in the line out. So Lawrence Brown with the all-important throw. It does go at the front of Jennings. Thurrock get the secondary drive going, gives Simpson a chance to charge towards the middle of the park. Thurrock pick up and go again. This time Thurrock have driven over and scored. Looks like press pull Cody Holloway to me. Forced his way over. Thurrock seemed to break away from a line out quite early. There was a driving maul. Ben Timpson carried the run going. And then suddenly was picked up by Cody Holloway, and one handoff later he was over. So it's Thurrock 5, Southend 3 with a conversion to come. It's Blake Burns with the conversion attempt from the wrong side of the field for a left footer. Especially against the wind. Referee Edwards in close attention. And that's a terrific by the young man. Thurrock 7, Southend 3. Quite sure whether you can see the scoreboard from here, but definitely says Thurrock 7, Southend 3. Very hard to see in that bright sunlight. So the water carriers are on again. I'm sure Razzie Erasmus will be very happy with that. Chance for the coaches to talk to the players. This adds the increased responsibility for timekeepers in the game. And those people who have to catch an early train. And Lloyd to resume. Great kick caught by Caelan Watts-Adams. Runs into midfield. Kyle Holloway with the responsibility. It's a good box kick. It's come in the middle of the field. It's caused all sorts of problems. It has been knocked on. An excellent box kick, plenty of height. As Rob Howell used to say, 25 metres up, 25 metres across, 2.5 seconds for the wing to get there. All worked beautifully until the knock-on. Preset move with Ben Lloyd come across the field. McVeigh has come into the line to make extra man. Let's put Rory Inwood away on the right wing. Nice pick-up by Sydney Node, number 8. Thurrock trying to cope with the tackling midfield. Southend still have possession. Lloyd feeds out to midfield. Vaughan coming hard of his left foot. Switch in the middle of the field, a handoff, a fend. There's Holloway a chance to get back in line and make the tackle. Number 8, Node, in good headway. Southend looking as if they're keen. Lloyd's a sidestep by him, a good feed out. Then held up the last minute. The ball has gone wide, and when it looks as if Inwood would go in, it was knocked on. Sorry, I've done him an injustice there. It wasn't Inwood, it was one of the loose forwards. At the end there, looked like an easy run in, but Rhys Cotter had come across and gotten his eye line and put him off, and subsequently lost the ball in the process of scoring. So it looked to all intents and purposes as if Southend would open their try-scoring account, but denied the last moment by a combination of the wind and the fact that Rhys Cotter managed to get across and just put off the flanker. So a good pick-up by Ben Timms in the back. He makes good ground. Catch pole. And this time Thurrock get the penalty. Offside. So Thurrock was scrabbling to get that away there. Kept the ball tight. Burns on his wrong left foot. Fine touch. And in the end he finds a good touch. Difficult conditions for the left footer. Wrong side of the field. A missed throw goes over the top of the branch, but there's been a series of knock-ons. And the most vital one was the first one from Thurrock. Southend were unable to take advantage. And Ben Lloyd's having a fine game at 10 for Southend, orchestrating attacks, throwing the odd dummy, making headway. It's a better scrum for Southend, but it has crabbed sideways. There's no real advantage. Thurrock awaiting the return of our Antrobus. And also Tom Wildman, who got injured last week. Harry Clark is on the bench today. Good acquisition to the club.
It's never going to be great.
Southend have always had a compact pack. Often struggle against the greater mobility of Thurrock packs in the past. The set piece all important. This time it's wheeled around a little. Ben Lloyd's under a bit of pressure, and the whole of Southend is under pressure. Solid hit in the middle of the field by Clifford. For some reason the referee has arm out once again. Jamie Orr going in low and hard. Branch thinks twice about throwing the dummy. Henry Bird comes out to make the tackle, breaks through the line. The referee goes back to an earlier penalty. We see this so often in rugby. An advantage, a referee will go back to an earlier penalty, will explain it to the opposition captain, and the game will be slowed down. Disconsolate looking Lewis Holmes there, who was the open side who lost possession in the act of going over the line for Southend a few minutes ago. So far been a largely frustrating game for Southend. They've had numerous attacking positions, but have not been able to capitalise completely. We hope that is not the commentator's curse, of course. This time it's a set-piece move. A gap appearing. It's quickly closed by Lawrence Brown. Gets back to his feet. So then corner hammer move, which means the drive through the middle. Branch organising matters. And Watts Adams wrestled and ups them to the ground, and Thurrock win the turnover. An important pasture play for Thurrock, that one. So then we're holding on. Thurrock were jackling. And Burns has a chance to clear his lines. Safe and dependable with his left foot. His play up some 30 metres. It's Lewis Holmes departing the field, and so then making a An early change there, bringing onto the field, I think, Steve Walker. Sorry, it's probably Grant Lowe. It's a good drive from Thurrock. Henry Bird now comes in as first receiver. Takes two to put him down. Then goes out wide to Rhys Cotter. He's looking to put Rob Murphy into a bit of space. Murphy opens up very well, goes into the Southend half. Lawrence Brown is there quickly. Rhys Cotter finds himself at scrum half. Feeds Cody Holloway. Steps off his right foot. Retain possession just about. Thurrock get the penalty. Burns kicking into the wind. Very difficult with the left foot against the wind. That stage might have been worth considering a scrum or tap and go. Watts Adams wins that superbly. He's a bouncing ball in the middle of the field, which leaves Henry Bird with a bit to do. He always manages to do it. Holloway sees a bit of a gap, kicks ahead. Harry Reynolds in hot pursuit. Jack McVeigh runs away. He eventually runs into contact. And once again, Thurrock get the turnover. Harry Reynolds pursued his man all the way across the field then. And of course in prime position when McVeigh lost possession. Once again, Thurrock going to the corner. This time Burns takes no risks. Good to see temporary under-assistant groundsman Mr. Davis here today, Mr. Keith Davis, former flying wing of Thurrock, alleged by Clive Byrne the fastest man who ever played for Thurrock. Well, one or two people might dispute that. Only one or two. And that's today. So Thurrock get the drive on. They seem to be going forward, and looks as if somebody's come around the wrong side there and pull that to ground. But the referee is legal. Looked very much as though somebody had come in from the wrong side there to stop the progress of that rolling wall, but who am I to judge? Nobody knows what's on in there, not even the forwards. So it's a great opportunity for the rolling was clearly going directly towards the line. Southend suddenly managed to stop it. Now they get the scrum. So far, there's been a keenly fought even contest as we drift towards half-time. This time Cody Holloway taps and goes, drives towards the line. Thurrock penalty. A very slow release. It looks as if that wasn't the best decision to tap and go, but it certainly proved the outcome. It's like George Miles has powered his way over there. So it's Thurrock 12, Southend 3. After a couple of attempts to drive them all over, Kai Holloway just come in scrum half, saw the opportunity, got very close, managed to win the ball back, and Thurrock have driven over. Crowd has gone silent as Blake Burns lines up his second conversion. This time it's just floated wide. So it's Thurrock 12, Southend 3. The water breaks have meant there's still a little time left in this half. So Ben Lloyd to kick off. Thurrock in the lead. And what's Adams once again getting a little bit like Chalupe Falata. The ball always seems to go to him in the kick-off. This time Rhys Cotter finds himself brought in to the clearing kick, goes to McVeigh. So then smash the ball down the field. Rhys Cotter's not in position because he's had to go. Thurrock suddenly realised it's going to be goal line dropout, and so they elect to kick to touch. It's fielded, but Thurrock find themselves offside. Bit of a comedy of errors, that. A little bit of indecision. It was a very long kick from Southend. Didn't quite go dead. Thurrock realised it would be a goal line dropout, and so they elect to kick to touch. But of course, most of their players are in offside position. Probably would have been better off just touching down and going for the goal line dropout. A bit of a rush of blood to the head. This puts Southend in a strong position just on the brink of half-time. Thurrock are hoping they don't pay for that moment of indecision. Southend set up the rolling maul. Thurrock are wrestling with them. Close to the line. And yes, they have paid the ultimate penalty. So Thurrock went from a very strong position then and unnecessarily tried to kick out of the dead ball area when they could have got a goal line dropout. That gave Southend good field position with an offside. They managed to convert from that attacking line out. A little bit like Wales against Fiji. They thought they were sure to win on 65 minutes and gave the game away. We hope Thurrock don't do the same thing. So you can't help but feel Southend have been let off the hook a little there. They were struggling at 12-3 down.
When I put that there, there's a prop there somewhere for the Oh, is that right, is it?
And that was on the stroke of half-time. So Southend leave the field. It's 12 points to 8 to Thurrock. It could well have been 12 points to 3. There not been a bit of a rush of blood to the head. Just on the last play, Southend were in a little bit of difficulty. Thurrock had broken away, but a very long kick with the wind by Southend. Then the ball just stopped short of the dead ball line. Thurrock elected to play it, kicked the ball out, didn't find touch. As Southend ran back 3 or 4 players in an offside position. The referee gave a penalty. Southend kicked into the corner. As a result of that, they managed to drive over the line and scored a try, which has brought them back into the game at 12 points to 8. Very even game in the early part. Southend threatened with the wind behind them, got themselves into good position, close range, kicked a penalty, but then failed to convert several more opportunities. Thurrock looked far more threatening once they'd burst into the Southend half, and they really converted opportunities into tries. So at half-time it is 12 points to 8. We look forward with excitement to the second half. Everybody's been enthralled by the Rugby World Cup over the last week or so. What a great occasion it is in France. First of all, that marvellous game with France overcoming New Zealand, who hadn't lost a game in any previous World Cup in the preliminary rounds. So it was a great victory for France, even though they were without some key players. And many people are talking about the loss of Roman Ntamak, the fantastic fly half. But it's probably Jonathan Dante who's the greatest miss to France. He's become an amalgam of people like Marn Nonu and Mathieu Bastereau. He's a great player in his own right, wins a lot of turnovers for France, a massive tackler and an auspicious attacker with the ball in hand. Still, they couldn't do without Damien Penaud, who scored a great try once again, won the leading lights. And of course, Jalibert is proving a more than adequate substitute for the injured Ntamak. Possibly they will miss the second row Willemse, but so too will South Africa miss Eden Etzebeth, their gigantic lock. Now, for a long time, people thought South Africa would be difficult to beat in the World Cup because they rarely get injuries. But during the first game against Scotland, Etzebeth did get injured. They look very powerful, and they'll be difficult to overcome. Apart from these two teams, South Africa and France, England looked very good in their first game. And the loss of Billy Vunipola and Owen Farrell meant that England had to find a different way to play. And in many ways, it's quite an interesting dilemma for Steve Borthwick to have. There are many people who believe that without Owen Farrell, England will play a much better game. George Ford was certainly an outstanding fly half during the first game. Dominated the game, kicked all 27 points with penalties and 3 drop goals. George Ford and Owen Farrell were contemporaries of Thurrock's fly half, Sam Stanley, member of the great Stanley family. When they were at under 16 level, Sam, Owen and George were all fly halves. I had the privilege of going to watch all 3 playing for England at under 16 level at Bourgoin in France. And on that occasion, Owen Farrell started the game as 10, and to an extent he was dominated by the Welsh open side. And it was none other than Di Young's son, Thomas Young. So they moved George Ford to fly half and Owen Farrell at the centre, something which has been repeated many times. That's where it first originated. So England have got some selection issues, nice issues for the next game. And of course, they've started to leave out Vunipola and Farrell. So Lewis Ludlam has stepped into the fray as number 8 for England, and is doing very well. We're looking forward to the next round of games. Wales play Portugal today. Wales played against Fiji in what was one of the most memorable World Cup games of all time. Wales seemed to be confident and seemed to be clear of the Fijians by 65 minutes. Strangely, Warren Gatland took off the main orchestra, the main man, Dan Biggar. Once he had left the field, Wales struggled to regain control. That with going down to 14 men, the Fijians attacked, wave after attacks ensued. At the end it was a bit like Rorke's Drift, except this time the Fijians didn't win. So Wales play Portugal. England have picked a very strong team for their game, an all-important game now. And we look forward to the rest of the World Cup. If we want to predict the quarter-finalists, quite a difficult thing to do. I suspect England or Wales might get there. They may play Australia or Fiji. And of course South Africa, France, New Zealand. And you won't go very far wrong if you look at those 5 or 6 teams. Anyway, we're looking for an exciting second week in the World Cup. A lot of good events going on this weekend. A lot of matches to look forward to. So Thurrock prepare for the second half. They seem to be ready. They now have the wind at their back. Southend come back onto the field. Tom Riemann leading the way. So Vuvuzela going off there in the background. No expense spared here at Thurrock. At least 8 fans in the grandstand today. The regulars. So here's Ben Lloyd to kick off the second half. Thurrock have the wind at their backs this half. Nick Edwards blows the whistle. It's a very high hanging kick. Ben Timson comes forward to take it. Takes it beautifully well. Nailed by a fine tackle. But Kai Holloway has managed to get possession. He puts in the high box kick. And they are allowing that to bounce. That's going to be a problem there. In fact, it's such a problem they've dropped the ball. So it can't quite gather. The first knock on has been by Southend. So Kai Holloway with the box kick, and Thurrock have the scrum. Number 8 Sydney Node there, having difficulty with the wind and the hanging ball. So we get a little bit of a nudge on, as good pass there. And we get now Clifford drives forward. With great velocity, but that means he's isolated. And so then win the turnover. Courtesy of Jack Kennard. Lloyd on the left foot. It's an excellent kick. It's the first attack of the half. Good scrum set up by Ben Timson. On the switch. Such high speed, inevitably would be isolated. Sport couldn't get there quickly enough. And the turnover was won by Steve Walker. Line at the very back. And so then an opportunity. Branch goes for the gap. And good support play by Southend. And they open the scoring. So nice break by Branch. Excellent loop around by McVeigh.
If we stay here, then
And just one simple mistake in midfield. And that sails wide. So it does put Southend the lead by 13 points to 12.
All embarrassed, so we it'd be nice. It's been so much. So then
The scream of high tackle from the Southend bench. Not sure whether the referee concurs with that. The referee obviously heard the call. I'm not sure whether he saw the event. I'm sure he must have done. He goes back for the high tackle. This time Lloyd misses touch. Harry Reynolds collects, gives Rhys Cotter a chance to put the high kick in. He sends that midfield. This time an inside step means that Jamie Orr is left with his arm in mid-air. Referee strides his arm out, little chip ahead. This time Southend seem to outflank Thurrock to extent. They go wide again. This time Southend seem to have opened up Thurrock a little bit too much ease. The Southend 18, Thurrock 12. As we know, rugby's a game momentum, and Thurrock had all the momentum until the last moments of the first half. Now the momentum has switched, and Thurrock have to try and ride this storm and get back into the contest. So it's Southend 18, Thurrock 12. And winger Harry Reynolds has taken a bit of a knock there in going for that high ball. Seemed a very good contest in the air. I don't think there was any foul there. Reynolds came down heavily on his leg. Lawrence Burns managed to regather that one after initial fingertip knockdown by Jennings. And Holloway puts in the box kick, but he's outside his 22. Southend have got the penalty. Southend certainly seems to have had the lion's share of penalties, and this has switched momentum. Tempo of the game now being dictated by Southend, and I have no doubt we'll go for another driving line-out. Lloyd taps that into touch. And the prowling Southend 8 make their way to the corner. Time they go to the front of the line-out. Thurrock attempt the successful with the sack. Very direct drive there. Now the ball goes wide. Lloyd comes back inside, hit down by a great tackle from a very slick move in the middle of the field, puts Vaughan over for another try.
Every week, what's the second goal? Yeah, I'm going to the first half. What is the second goal?
For some reason, Southend managed to have got a vice-like grip on this game. Thurrock looking the more likely just before half-time. Suddenly the whole game has changed. After a few sorties using the pack, they've now gone to the backs, and a slick move has put Vaughan under the posts.
Where do you want to sit?
Ben Lloyd has the simplest of tasks to extend the lead to 25 points to 12. Thurrock now in all sorts of difficulties and desperately need to score to bring themselves back into the game. At least have the elements with them. If they can just win back possession, once again we could see momentum swing. It's good tackle by Jamie Orr. So then coming short, Jay Jennings. Lloyd goes for the big boot. And Thurrock have put on Ahmed Aminu. Burns goes with a long spiral. It's kept in play. Very clears out with his left foot. So Harry Clark has come onto the field at 21 for Anthony Catchpole. Ahmed Aminu has come on for Rob Murphy. So it goes to the back, it's gone over. Watts Adams finds the ball. Now for himself in the clear. Finds himself almost clear and throws a ragged pass out, which finds nobody but the touchline. That was Thurrock's opportunity to get back into the game. Like Watts Adams has been outstanding all season, usually takes those on himself. At least Thurrock have found themselves a bit of territorial advantage. Jennings is close to stealing that one. The line is sacked. Branch seems in control. Aminu manages to collect that. Wrestles himself forward. Does very well present the ball. Jennings is a little bit isolated. Bird manages to get in the right position. Ben Timpson. Jamie Orr with a sidestep. That is a high tackle by Southend. And Burns has a chance to punch Thurrock forward. Aminu did exceptionally well there. 3 or 4 people converged upon him, but he managed to wriggle free and retain possession. Jennings the front, superbly taken. This time Burns comes on the loop, puts in Rhys Cotter. Cotter loses the ball, with Aminu scorching through the gap. There's slick move by Thurrock. Not quite at the races today. So the second chance is many minutes gone for Thurrock. This time it's a crossfield kick by Lloyd, which has gone straight into touch. Liam Walsh, the touch judge, formerly of Madness. Looking a bit like Suggs. So Thurrock have managed to get down into the Southend half. Jennings won a couple of good lineouts there.
It's all pretty cool.
He's Cotter doing some damage in the middle of the field, can't quite get away. Second high tackle in a row. This brings a warning from the referee, almost like the World Cup. How many warnings equal a card? That's the question. We don't want to see yellow cards, but we don't want to see high tackles either. The Thurrock need to find a way of getting back into this game. They need to realise that 2 converted tries would put them in the lead. Burns does push out one down towards the Southend line. Ben Timpson picks up the pieces, throws a dummy, moves into the gap. Kai Holloway sets it up. This time Jay Jennings goes at speed. Ben Timpson feeds on to George Miles. A fine debut season. Henry Bird on the switch. Almost tackled, manages to keep his feet. Jamie Orr.
Lose it, don't lose it.
Blake Burns goes for the gap as a double hit. Thurrock retain possession. George Miles taking the law into his own hands. Drives quite close. Southend apply the counter ruck and win the ball. Thurrock have not been able to capitalise on this possession territory they've had. They still find themselves 13 points in arrears. The referee calls for a water break. Good to see the President, Mr. Brian Howells, here today.
Where was Blake Burns? Where was Blake at? Where did he play at? Did he play at an academy somewhere?
Blake Burns, fly half for Thurrock, has been at Loughborough College. He's been playing there. And as well as that, he was at Leicester last year doing an internship and did a lot of work with George Ford. But he was trained as a fly half when he was aged 10 or 11. And then he became a member of the Welsh Exiles because his grandmother's Welsh. Subsequently, Blake Burns played in the back row for the Welsh Exiles, and then they moved him to hooker. So he's taken the journey from fly half to back row to hooker, back to fly half. That was in response to the question.
Well done, Jason.
And unfortunately, all those years spent in the back row and hooker, he should have been practicing kicking with his right foot. Nevertheless, he's a very fine young player. He's only 22 years of age and he will come good.
I'm not allowed to
A relieving penalty for Southend, who flooded that break, managed to win the turnover and subsequent penalty. Difficulty Southend had there, trying to find touch, will give you some idea of the strength of the wind. You could see Marco Diana back here on duty today. This time we're hoping the sound does work, otherwise we'll have a silent movie as we did last week. This time Jay Jennings competes on the line at the front, almost wins it. So then get a mini drive going. Harry Reynolds wins that kick with ease. Finds a way in the middle of the field, goes to ground. Kai Holloway is there quickly. Blake Burns finds himself outside. Now Clitter on a hard sidestep. Blake Burns picks up, feeds Jamie Orr. Bounces off a couple of tackles. Ben Timpson, first receiver, throws a dummy, goes to ground. Blake Burns, the difficulty with that one. Barnes Wallace would have been proud of that pass. Bouncing bomb. Liam Walsh scratches his head and puts his hat back on. Doing a fine impression of Suggs there on the touchline today. So then knew that was a free play, kicked the ball away. Southend, something of a bogey team for Thurrock over the last couple of years. Thurrock have had difficulty putting them away when they've been on top. So then come back into it. Seem to take better advantage of momentum when they have it. Perhaps that's down to experience. This time's a line-out ploy by Southend. Win the ball to back, throw the ball back into the middle of the field. Middle of the line-out. Double switch work by Ben Lloyd. Pick up short. Once again a penalty, yet another high shot. Chip ahead. And amazingly, Thurrock get the yellow card. Now, that for me is the first high tackle for quite some time. Southend have committed 2 or 3. No yellow card. Probably it was the same as Wales against Fiji, where the whole team was given a warning. Nevertheless, whatever the reason, Thurrock have found themselves down a man. And Southend have the chance to increase their lead. Successful sack by Thurrock. Go for it quite quickly.
What's got some tape?
This time Thurrock win the turnover. Gratefully received by Burns, who pushes the ball almost up to the 22. And Cody Holloway's had a little bit of a setback because of he's being forced to leave the field, which brings James Roger on, the man from the northeast. Again, Thurrock commit the sack, but it's a little bit too late. Watts Adams has to rush back around to get in position, stop this drive. As soon as the sack failed, that try looked inevitable for Southend.
Like half an hour. Hire it for half an hour, for like an hour, and it's just you exclusively. It's like £10 half an hour. So we just hire it. Yeah. So if you take a
Thurrock will have to work hard to come back from this deficit in the time remaining. Regardless of the conversion, they will need 3 converted tries, and they are down to 14 men. It's a valiant attempt by Lloyd, but from that far out against the wind, that was difficult. Thurrock have won the ball from the kick-off, but there has been a knock-on. It's a cross-field kick. It's a great kick by Inwood. Wonderful tackle by Rhys Cotter. So once again, Thurrock judged be offside.
Oh no, I wasn't
And now Southend are rampant. This is the way to utilise the extra man. Since Captain Ben Simpson received a yellow card, Southend have gone from strength to strength. That was Lewis Holmes diving over in the corner. This is almost inexplicable, the way Thurrock were on top at the end of the first half and seemed to have imploded a little. $35 points to 12. Crowd have gone quiet and Thurrock need to find some energy quickly. It's a great run by Kai Holloway. Saw the gap, beat 3 or 4 players. Hamid Aminu going himself. They're going to need a quick ball. Caleb Watts-Adams going blind. Henry Bird out wide. They're running out of options a little with only 14 players in the field. Jamie Orr takes direct route. Referee goes back to earlier penalty. Blake Burns takes the ball quickly. Throws it out to Rhys Cotter. Rhys Cotter goes for the gap. Finds the gap, puts Hamid Aminu through the hole. Aminu stopped just short. Thought get another penalty. At least this is a bit of relief for them. Desperately to score to bring themselves back into the game. Rebuffed by a mighty tackle. And he's still coming. Thurrock seemed to run out of numbers, hardly surprising since they are depleted. Free's had enough, goes back to the earlier penalty. One must remember that both teams are given a warning about the next offence. There seems very much as if the referee is being a little bit lenient. That was in the red zone. Thurrock were on the attack. A series of illegal interventions.
Funny. But no, it's good. It's good fun. It's cute, and they said it all.
Skipper Ben Timpson prowling the touchline, desperate to get back on the field of play. Into compound matters, the penalty touch has been missed, giving Southend a dropout 22, which is the source of all Thurrock's discontents. And the ball at the end of the first half didn't quite go dead. It's Cotter. This time he again misses the kick and puts the ball straight into touch. So a series of errors of compound situation for Thurrock. They've not quite been able to score, and perhaps they should have done. Captain Ben Timpson comes back onto the field. And Thurrock is struggling by 35 points to 12. Jamie Orr wins that one against the throw. They'll go wide to Clifford, bring Reece Cotter in the line. Cotter throws the dummy. He's held up, but he's into the Southend half. Yet another penalty, and this time he does show the yellow card. I would think it's too little too late, but the yellow card has been shown. For some reason, the second half, Thurrock have had no spark. They've been in the doldrums. They need to become revitalised somehow. They need somebody to lift the game. He feeds the backs, a little loop around to Blake Burns. Reece Cotter loses the ball. There's something to be said for match fitness. It has gone very quiet at Oakfield. They've had their opportunities, especially in the first half. Good to see the irascible Steve Bowen there in the crowd with the English gentleman, Mr. Lew Hughes, wearing his straw hat, Cambridge fashion. Of course, a fine student of Anglia Ruskin College in his time. Henry Bird fends off a would-be tackler. Ahmed Aminu gets the ball. Then the ball is thrown to ground. It's a great run by Harry Reynolds. He's been doing that all season. Then runs out of support. And Thurrock have been doing that all day. Making some good runs, running for support, and then the turnover. I think some days just have to put your hands up and say, it was just one of those days. It's quite inexplicable. There's been no real reason for it, but Thurrock has lost form today. They've not been able to manufacture a great deal. They've made mistakes in all sorts of positions on the field. Southend have been controlled. They've scored their points when they needed to. So Harry Reynolds has just had one really good run. Given Reese caught the ball in field, looks inside, sees the side steps, continues his run, looking for somebody to hand off to, goes to ground. Ben Timpson feeds a quick ball to Lawrence Brown. Lawrence Brown is sided down the tackle. Referee comes back for a previous infringement or a head injury.
Straight red! Right in front of you!
The referee seems unsure what's happened there. Speaking to both captains. And the penalty goes Southend. And that is the final play. In the end, a very disappointing afternoon for Thurrock. At the beginning of the first half, they had all the momentum. It looks as if they would go on to achieve a victory. A loose kick by Southend. Didn't quite go over the dead ball line. Thurrock elected to play rather than a drop out from their own line. They failed to find touch. Subsequently, Thurrock were offside. Southend kicked in the corner, and the whole process changed the momentum of the game. From that point on, Thurrock were up against it. They were able to refine their mojo, and Southend ran out deserving victors. Very disappointing afternoon for the Oakfield faithful, a very disappointing afternoon for Thurrock. Very hard to put your finger on what went wrong. In fact, not a lot did go wrong. But they were able to find their form again, and Southend ended up being the eventual victors. So, good afternoon from Thurrock Oakfield, where today Southend have been the successful team and thoroughly deserve their victory.